Okay, so we were discussing the costs that we should take into consideration in economic and financial analysis. So here, the question was to determine the price at project site because we are exporting an output. Okay, so if we know the final price, when we want to go to the price at the project site, we should deduce the different costs in order to determine the price at the project site, since all of other costs will be added to the price at the project site. Because let's say, for example, in case of crude oil, you will extract crude oil at the site level. Then, in order to be able to sell it, you should pay fees of transport, you should pay fees of handling, you should pay export taxes, then you can export it. And because they gave us here the final exporting price, we need to subtract all of other prices in order to come up with the price at site, at the project site. And we mentioned that in financial analysis, we should take into consideration taxes, while in economic analysis, we don't have to take these taxes into consideration. Now, for handling and transport costs, we should take them in consideration for both economic and financial. But in case of economic analysis, these costs will be lower because a part of these costs will go to the society. And we consider that because it's going to the society, let's say you are paying people of the country, so these costs will go back to the society. That's why we said in the problem that 90% of the charge of the handling and transport charge is in economic case is 90% of the one for a financial case. Okay, so since you already have the value, it's 20 of local money per barrel. In case of if you are going over the financial analysis, this is the price. But because in economical analysis, one part will go to the society, which is 10%, then you just have to take 90% of this. So it's minus 90 times 0.9, which will give you the value in local money, in local money for the whole amount. And here, the analysis should be in one currency. So let's say here they are using local money for both, okay? Because already you have, as the first stage, you have the price in dollar per barrel, okay? Then you should transform to local money per barrel. That's why we multiplied by the shadow rate for the economic analysis and by the financial rate for financial analysis, which is the official rate. Then we have now the cost in local money per barrel. And all costs and prices now will be expressed in local money per barrel term. So here, because it's 90% of the financial cost, so we just have to multiply 20 by 0.9. And for the transport cost, also it's 60 times 0.9 in case of economic, while it's 60 in financial. And for both cases, we are doing minus because we are going in the reversed way in order to determine the price at the project site. Now, once we determine all...
Doctor, what did you say about the price of the project site?
Okay. Yes. What is the idea? What is the difference between the price at the project site and the final price? You should know first what you are doing, if you are exporting or importing. If you are exporting, then the initial state is the price at the project site. And you extract crude oil, okay? At the first level, you have already the cost of extraction. So here, if you want, this is what we mean by the price at the project site. What is the price needed to extract 1 barrel of crude oil? So you should include, let's say, the extraction cost, the project, any cost involved in your project at the site lab. Okay. Now, in order to find the final exporting price, you should add to the price at the site. You should add the transport cost because you should transport your crude oil from field to the port. Okay, so you need to add a certain price of transformation, and you should add a price for the handling charge. and you should add a price for the tax in case you are doing analysis in financial, not economic. Okay? To be able to determine what is the final price just, so this is the final price just before exporting. This is what we call the exporting price. Okay? So this is the final exporting price. And here in this problems, I asked to find what, if we know the final exporting cost, what will be the price at the project site. So we know that to find the price at the project site, we should subtract from the final price the different prices, including tax, charge, transport, in case we are doing financial analysis. And in case we are doing economic analysis, we don't consider the taxes, we just subtract the handling and transport charge. Okay? Now, the handling and transport charge are not the same for the economic and financial analysis because, as we mentioned, a part of this charge will go to society. So we consider that it's benefit for society. Any benefit for the society is considered as a benefit in the economic analysis, but is not considered as a benefit in the financial analysis. So this is why here you don't take into account this part which will go to society, which is 10% of the handling and transport charge. That's why you just multiply by 0.9. So you should subtract only 90% of this charge for both handling and transport. Okay?
دكتور كمان بالفاينانشال يعني بالبرايس at the project site بالفاينانشال analysis يعني ما بيطلعوا 510 ما بيطلعوا 510 يعني إذا ما if we subtract 600 minus 30 minus 60 minus 20 ما بيطلعوا 510.
It might be بيكون في maybe error in calculation. Okay, I will check for this. Okay, I'm not هون 80. Yes, exactly. It's a calculation error. We'll fix it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Now, in case 2, if we consider the importable input, so now it's another type of question. We are importing. So here, a big difference between exporting and importing, because the initial state, if you want, in when we import, will be the price of, let's say, the price of coal here, of the input at the initial state when we import it. But before getting it to the project site, we have to add many prices, because this is the price, let's say, if you want, just as the port level. Now we want to transport it and we want to pay import taxes in order to take it to the site. So we should add to this price the import tax in case we are doing financial analysis. We should add the handling charge. We should add the transport cost from port to project site in order to find the total cost to the project. Okay, and this is why here we started first the value, which is $20 per ton. Let's say we'll find first the equivalent value in local money, and what will be the value in local money per ton. That's why, as we mentioned before, in the economic analysis we multiply by the shadow rate. In the financial analysis we multiply by the official rate, and then we get the corresponding price in local money per ton. After this, we should consider, whenever we do the economic analysis, we should consider 30% of taxes only in case of financial analysis and not in case of economic analysis. And here we add costs, because this is the initial state and the field, the project site is the final state. So we should add 0.3 times here's the cost, which is 840. After this, also we should add the handling charge. We add it as it is in the financial approach, while we just take 90% of this charge in the economic approach. So we can compare at the end what is the cost to the project in case we do the economic approach or in case we do the financial approach. Okay. Any question on this? Now, again, if we go back to the common and departing features between the economic and financial analysis, the output of the project which is sold in the market generally will constitute for both the main benefit of a project. In both financial and economic evaluation, what the product that you will sell, okay, will constitute your income. Now, in some cases, projects lead to directly productive and indirectly productive outputs. What do we mean by this? So, for example, a dam can provide recreational facilities in addition to electricity generation. So, for example, you can use it for irrigation water or for drinking water supply. All of these are all of these are, if you want, the society can benefit from these facilities. Okay, so you should take them into economic analysis because any benefit to the society should be taken into consideration in economic analysis. While in financial analysis, you just take care for the main purpose. And let's say you want to produce electricity, your income, let's say, will be the amount of electricity you will sell per month, and then you can determine what is your benefit. However, whenever you perform an economic analysis, let's say here, if you have irrigation or if you have drinking water supply, which from which the society can benefit, you can consider also that this is a profit for your project. So these additional benefits may be difficult to value in monetary terms, but should be considered in the economic evaluation only. Now, another aspect is that a project benefit can also include any change in the consumer surplus. What do we mean by this? So sometimes, as we mentioned, when you implement a project, maybe you will not sell a product, let's say, but you will save money. And we gave already the example of a home that is implementing a solar system. So what is the advantage here what is the benefit for this home is that the reduction of the electricity bill. You don't have, if your system is completely independent, you can get rid of the electricity bill. So this is for you this is for you the real benefit. So here, this is what we are talking about here. Plus, sometimes if you have your solar system, you might consume more, let's say, than you were doing before. Or let's say if you are implementing, let's say a country is implementing a hydropower plant. Because, let's say, of this new project, and you have the availability, let's say, or the production of kilowatt hour can be larger, you can reduce the cost of electricity. The country can reduce the cost of electricity. And because it can reduce the cost, then you will have an increase in the demand of electricity. This is what we call the consumer surplus. So here, it's true that you increased, if you want, when you increase the demand, the benefit will be higher, but at the same time, you reduce the cost of selling the electricity, and if you are talking about the country. So if we want to do the economical analysis to see, let's say, if this system will save money, I should take into consideration the net surplus of the consumer. And I should take into consideration the reduction in cost, which will reduce the revenue, but at the same time, it can increase a lot the demand because people can use more electricity and you can have more consumers, and this will lead to, if you want, larger benefits for your implemented system. So as we mentioned then, when we talk about these changes, we can talk about the difference between what consumers are willing to pay and what they actually pay for a good or service. This is what we were talking about. So if you are comparing two systems, in order to evaluate in order to do the economical analysis, you can just look at what is the amount of money you save. This is then when you do the difference between what you were paying before and what you are paying now, because you are investing in a new system. So you should take into account the balance between the investment you did and the savings you did, because you don't have to pay bills anymore. And care has to be taken to include only that part which benefits the society as a whole in case we have consumer surplus. What do we mean by this? For example, if you have a hydropower plant that will reduce the electricity price and increase the demand for electricity, this will generate consumer surplus. But the price reduction produces revenue loss to the utility and therefore has an offsetting effect. The net surplus should be considered in such cases. So we should take into consideration the reduce in price and the increase in demand to find the overall benefit of the project. So in summary, this table summarized for us economic versus financial analysis. So we have several costs. In case we are talking about cost of elements, cost to economy will include also external costs. So as we mentioned, effects on health, effects on environment, while in financial appraisal, we just take care of costs that are relevant for the project that involves money. Concerning the benefits, we take into consideration in economic appraisal, we take the benefits to national economy. However, in case of financial appraisal, we just take into consideration benefits to the owners of the project. For valuation, costs and benefits are valued as the willingness to pay or willingness to accept compensation, reflecting the opportunity cost of the resource. So as we mentioned, we can save some money or we can save payment of bills. So we'll take this into consideration in economic appraisal, while in financial appraisal, we'll do the valuation at market prices. Concerning the coverage of economic appraisal, of course, economic appraisal will have a broad coverage because it will take into consideration the whole society, while the financial appraisal is narrow because it just considers the benefits of the owners only. Concerning the viability, the financial viability is necessary for economic viability, but not a sufficient condition. While in financial appraisal, the financial profitability is only the criteria. You know that, for example, whenever we talk about environmental effects in general, when the country will implement projects, it should follow standards, it should follow regulations, because in normal cases, whenever the country is implementing a project, it should follow the international standards, it should take into consideration environmental effects, health effects, etc. While whenever you have the private sector, in general, the first criteria will be the first criterion is the financial profitability, and we don't take care a lot for other issues. But of course, if you have implementation of regulations, you can force, even when you have private industries or private investments, they can force them to follow regulations and standards in order to take into consideration other effects. Now, concerning the discount rate, we'll discuss what is the discount rate in this lecture. So, when in economic appraisal, we consider the social discount rate, while in financial appraisal, we consider the cost of capital that we are using in investment. Okay. Now, what about inflation and relative prices? Should we account for them? Let us discuss this. So most countries experience varying levels of inflation, an increase in the general price level. And at best, the rates of inflation will be 1 to 2% per year, but in many countries, it's 10 to 15% inflation is regularly observed. And let's say in countries like us, like in Lebanon, we have a very high percentage of inflation. So in general, in stable countries, you have small rate of inflation, while in cases of countries where you have crisis, you can have a hyperinflation and a very high percentage. The existence of inflation raises the question of whether project inputs and outputs should be measured as the prices in force at the time of the appraisal, which we mean by constant prices, or as the prices in force when the project input and output occurs. Of course, the time is very important whenever we deal with the project, and we should take time into consideration. But whenever we talk about the same year, okay, the inflation will be applied on both costs and benefits. Because of this, we don't consider inflation in the analysis. We consider the effect of time through other factors like discount rate that we'll discuss together, but not inflation, because we consider that inflation will be on both costs and benefits. It will affect the whole society in the same percentage. That's why we consider that it will cancel out in the analysis. So in projects that can be 10 to 50 years in the future, we have to forecast inflation that far ahead in order to be able to value our flows of inputs and outputs in a correct way. The answer is no, because as inflation is an increase in the general price level, we can ignore it for purposes of appraisal. In other words, we are assuming that it will affect all costs and benefits in the same way, and therefore will not have an affect the relative returns. Now, what are the main indicators of cost-benefit comparison? So we have a large number of methods that are commonly used for comparing costs and benefits of a project, which can be broadly grouped into two main categories. We have some methods that will ignore the time value of money, and these methods are not very recommended, especially for energy projects. Because energy projects, we have already seen that in general, the time of building and the lifetime of energy projects is significantly large. So it's not recommended at all to ignore time. And in other projects, it might work if you have just to do the analysis of a project for 1 year, for example. It's fine if you ignore the time value of money. But in general, for energy projects, we should employ indicators to take into consideration the time effect on the value of money. So let us start first by considering what are the equations to write if you want to ignore time, and what are the modifications to do if you want to take time into effect. So first, one very important parameter when we do the analysis of a project is the payback period. Now, when we ignore time, we call the payback period static payback period, okay? Because the time effect is not taken into consideration. And the static payback period will just tell us what is the time needed if you want to recover our investment at the time where the benefits will be equal to the costs. Okay? And in this case, we can say that starting from this year or starting from this date, we can start to have an income. We start to benefit in the project. Now, I0 is the symbol of investment. It's the initial investment at year 0. We have the annual net revenues is termed by ANR, and we consider here for simplification, in case we want to do some simplification, we can consider that the annual revenue is constant. In case we have change in the annual net revenue, we should take for each year what is the value of the annual revenue and then do the addition. And in case we have constant annual net revenues, we can take it outside of the summation. And in this way, we can have a simplified formula. Because if ANR is constant, taking it outside, we can say that the initial investment I0 is equal to ANR times summation from 1 to t. So it's ANR times the number of years t. Okay? And t will represent then the static payback period. So t can be calculated simply as I0 over AN. Okay? So if and only if annual net revenues are considered to be constant, not changing from 1 year to the other, we can reformulate this expression and say that the static payback period can be calculated as I0 over ANR. Now, in practice, many projects do not have constant annual net cash flow, so we must undertake a yearly assessment, and we'll see this in the next slide. We'll see an example of this. So let us consider, for example, the following problem. An energy-saving lamps, which consumes 14 watt, costs £2, while an incandescent lamp of 75 watt costs £0.5. We are assuming that we need 10 hours of lighting per day, and a cost of 10 pence is 1 over 100 pounds. So it's pounds over 100. So cost 10 pence per kilowatt hour of electricity consumption, and we want to determine the payback period. So first here, as we mentioned before, we should see what is here. The benefit will be the savings we are doing, and we have two options. Option one, to use a saving lamp, energy saving lamp, and another approach is to use a conventional lamp. Okay, of course, the cost of the energy saving lamp will be larger, but on the other hand, we have a lower power, and it will consume a power much smaller than the normal lamp. Okay, so for the energy saving lamp, the characteristics are 14 watt, but the cost is £2. While for the conventional normal lamp, we have the power consumed is 75 watts, but the cost is much lower. It's 0.5 pound. So we want to decide, okay, on the difference between the two. And if I want to use this lamp, I should pay more. Okay, I should pay more £2. So if you want, the initial investment difference will be this is the initial cost that you will consider. Okay, because what you are comparing, these two, then you can consider that the difference in initial cost should be taken into consideration, and the time needed to cover this difference will give you the static payback period. Okay, so instead of paying 0.5, I will pay 2. So I am investing additional 1.5 pounds. Now I should determine if this investment, what is the time needed to recover my investment. I want to pay back my investment. To know what is the time needed, I just have to consider the formula of energy. Okay, I am consuming if I am using the new lamp, I consume only for 14 watts. However, if I use the normal lamp, I consume 75 watts. So the amount of saving is the difference. Is the difference between the 75. So this is my benefit. I will reduce my bill. Okay, I will reduce my consumption by 61 watts when I use the lamp that have a larger cost. So if I pay 1.5 pounds more, I will save each if you want, for each operation, okay, as power, I will save 61 watt. And because I am operating my lamp for 10 hours, I can find what is the amount of energy I am saving. So I can multiply by the number of hours I am using my lamp. So it's 10 hours. So I am saving in this way 610 watt hour. Okay, now to know the amount of savings as money, I should multiply by the cost of watt hour. Here, because already it's given in kilowatt hour, the cost per kilowatt hour, I can convert. I have just to multiply by 10 to the power minus 3. So I am saving 0.61 kilowatt hour per day, because each day I am operating my lamp for 10 hours. So now I can find what is the amount of money saved per day, because they gave me that the cost is 10 pence per kilowatt hour. So in terms of pound, the cost is 0. But here we have 10 pence, okay? The cost is 10 pence. So we multiply by 10 first to find the cost in pence per day. And then so we have 61 pence saving per day. And each pence is 1 over 100 of pounds. So in terms of pound, I am saving 61 over 100 pound per day. So this is the amount of savings I am doing per day. Now, to determine what is the number of days needed in order to recover my initial investment, all I have to do, because I consider here is that I have constant saving, because each day I consider, I am operating for 10 hours. Of course, you might have change in the schedule, so you might not have a constant amount of operating hours. But here in the problems, I assume constant operation, number of operations per day. So I can just say that if I divide the additional investment I did when bringing the lamp with a higher cost, which is an additional of 1.5 pounds. To determine the static payback period, I should divide by the cost per day to determine what is the number of days needed to recover the cost. And because my lamp in general will have a lifetime much larger than 25 days, then my investment is okay. Okay, because after 25 days of operation, I will start to save each day 61 over 100 pounds. So if you have the lifetime of the lamp, let's say you're at 6 months, for example, it is good. It's a good investment. Now we are talking about one lamp. Imagine that you are replacing, let's say, if you are replacing lamps, not you want to, you are not if you want bringing from zero. Here we are comparing in this problem. We are comparing that if you want to select between these two lamps and we want to do the analysis. But if you already have conventional lamps in your home and you want to replace them by energy saving lamps, what will be the difference in analysis? Who can tell me? Exactly. For the initial cost, because I am not buying the normal lamps, I have them already. I don't consider that I am paying any amount of money to get these lamps. I already have them. So if I want to replace them, the initial cost will not be in my analysis. The initial cost will be two. It will not be the difference. I will consider the difference if I am comparing, if I want to buy now a lamp, if I select this one or this one. But if I am replacing a lamp, okay, then I should take into consideration that the initial investment is not 1.5, it's 2. Okay. Now, another example. Let us say we want to determine the static payback period for the following investment. Here, in the following investment, we pay at the initial state 10,000 USD. It is the initial investment at year 0. And here we have for each year from year 1 to 5, what is revenues and what are the revenues and what are the costs. And then if we give us for each year the revenues and the cost, we can calculate the annual net revenues by doing the subtraction between revenues and cost. So we have 3,000 for the first year, 3,000 for the second year. In the third year, we have larger revenues, so 8,500 minus 5,000, it's 3,500. In year 4, we have savings of 3,200, and in the final year, we have savings of 8,000 minus 5,000, 3,000. So in such cases, we cannot apply the simplified formula. Just the static payback period is, if you want, the investment over A and R, because the annual net rate is not a constant. What we should do then, okay, we can do the following. First, when we do this table, we can start to add the net revenues. And once we exceed the initial investment, which is 10,000, we can say that we can calculate the static payback period. And for example, here, after year 2, it's 6,000, we are still below 10,000. At the end of year 3, we have 9,500, so still below 10,000. Now, after the 4th year, and between 4th and 5th year, I have the static payback period. If I calculate now at the 4th year, I have 12,700 USD. So I will not say, if you want, that the payback period is, let's say, is 4, okay? Because we have a larger amount. And after 4 years, already we have recovered and we have started to gain money. We gained already $2,700. Okay, so it's 3 point something. That's why, in order to determine what is the fraction, we do the following. First, we consider that y is the number of years just before the payback year. So in this example, y will be 3, because just at 3 years, we were below 10,000. We have 9,500. So y will be the number of years just before the paying back. So it's here 3. Now, it's not 4, because for year 4 already we have exceeded the investment. So a way to approach this is to say, let us consider first the ratio between A and B. What is A and what is B? A represents the total remaining to be paid back at start of the break-even year. The break-even year is year 4, because after year 4, you already gained more than, you have exceeded 10,000. So the breaking year, okay, as we said, is 4 years. And to determine